Welcome back. Episode 2, Humble Talk Podcast. It's your boy, Feast as usual. Hey, thank you for everybody who's been checking me out, watching vids, right? I want to keep these things coming for you. So, hey, tune in. Keep tuning in, right? Happy holidays, everybody out there. Be safe. Hope y'all get everything that y'all wanted for Christmas, man. But business is business. We got to get into it, right? So, here we go. Listen, YSL update. There's a lot of telling going on. A whole lot. Everybody's taking plea deals left and right. Antonio Sumlin is the latest guy in this YSL case to take a plea deal. On Thursday, he pled guilty to conspiracy to commit multiple murders. 2, right? As far as aiding in the continuance of the YSL gang. There's so much to say about this, just in general, right? I mean, just to get to it, the tone of the day, man, is going to be watch your surroundings, man. But, I mean, let's get to it, right? Like, this is the 6th person, I believe, including Young Thug's brother, who's actually pled out in this situation, this YSL RICO, state RICO, mind you. I don't know how Young Thug beats this thing. I just don't know. I don't see it. Gunna seems to have set the tone for what this thing is going to be going forward. And maybe he wasn't directly trying to create this narrative, but the narrative began once it seemed as though he took a plea. Because let's be clear, that Al Ford plea that he took is not common. You do not hear about that. And I don't even believe every state has that. I believe certain states have that, and it's special cases only. So with this other guy who, again, the conspiracy that he was involved with, as far as the 2 murders are concerned, like, look, man, they've already established that this thing is a gang. Multiple people have said it, including Gunna, number 1. Number 2, the co-founder of this gang is already doing a life sentence. Those 2 things alone, man, like, create bad juju for everybody involved. Number 3, the number of people that are taking pleas is amazing at this point. It's not to say that there isn't more coming, because I believe that there's more coming. I actually believe that Young Thug is going to take a plea. I believe that there's going to be some kind of deal made, and I believe he's going to take whatever time he gets and just run with it. I'm not saying that's what I would do, because here's the thing, right? Like, everybody already understands what this thing is. You get on TV, you throw in gang signs, the code words ain't really code words, right? There's kids in the suburbs that know what some of these terms mean. It's not like it's like the best kept secret in the streets what some of this stuff means. Everybody's outside, and with social media and everybody wanting likes and wanting to be around and have that persona, you're putting yourself in a bad situation all the way around. The thing about having an organization is that it's hard to keep tabs on everybody. So while certain people may skirt this thing because they were low key, a lot of these guys that are high key, I mean, let's just be real. Like, some of these dudes probably not the most sturdiest guys out here to take their time and just roll with it without saying something. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, it's difficult, man. Gunna is a person that, like, coming to find out just through what's being put out there, like, you had no criminal background, and supposedly you were facing 5 years. I'm not saying that 5 years isn't a long time, because everybody who's gone through something understands, like, 5 years is a long time, but 5 years is a very small time compared to keeping your integrity, in my opinion. Loyalty is everything where I come from, right? Like, that's one of the pillars that I stand on. You know what I mean? The other one is, like, hey, just being a stand tall cat. And that has nothing to do with loyalty. That's just the person that I am inside. Like, I like being able to go outside and be who I am. And people know that. And I am approached a certain way. I'm able to sit in certain conversations because people know who I am, what I stand for. It's so hard when people get money to go, hey, well, I got money, so now these doors have all opened. But then when it hits the fan, I was just here for the music. No, bro, because if you weren't there for the music, man, like you should have just when those rooms were open to you, those doors were open to you, you should have gracefully backed out of those rooms and kept it moving and just kept it music. You know? So for what I believe Gunna is kind of semi guilty in creating that atmosphere, because if it's okay for him, it should be okay for everybody else in some people's eyes. But when you have a guy like Antonio Sumlin, who goes by the name Obama, when you have somebody like him who goes and takes a plea, and part of his plea is the two murders, right? That's a hard pill to swallow. That's a hard pill to swallow. But it's also hard too, because this is what RICO cases do. What RICO cases are built to do is to attach a whole bunch of people and throw numbers at you. And then a lot of people fold under those numbers. Right? Like it's not that you aren't doing anything wrong. It's that, hey, like the guy that washes your car gets pulled into court and they say, hey, do you know of anything illegal that goes on? And that guy's facing, they just throw numbers at you. So they say, hey, you're looking at 5 years because you wash cars. Well, that guy who is a stand-up citizen, a guy who's not actually involved, now is like, hey, you know what? I did see this, or I did see that. There's a whole lot of stuff, man, behind the scenes that goes on. And the hard part about it is like us as regular people who aren't famous and who aren't necessarily in the spotlight, we have a whole different perspective on what we would do in that situation. It's hard to necessarily say that a lot of people would hold it down in that situation. But I mean, there's a lot of people out here that do stand on morals and stand on code, and I also think too that, like, for Young Thug, like, I don't want to say it's the end for him, but for the immediate future, like, you can count him out. You know what I'm saying? And I hate to say that. I hate to say that, because actually between Young Thug and Gunna and whoever else is around, like, I might know a few Young Thug songs. Other than Pushin' P, I don't know a song from Gunna, to be honest with you. Right? And that's not to say that, like, one's better or worse, because I mean, I'm an oldies 90s kind of music fan for the most part, right? I'm not a mumble rap type of guy, so for me it doesn't matter to me either way. I could care less regardless. But just from what's going on, man, it's like, this is what gets me, right? And quick tangent. quick tangent. I promise I'll get back to it. So part of Gunna's plea, he went to a court and they asked him, hey, on this date, you were in a car with Jeffrey Williams, Young Thug. Yes, I was in a car with Jeffrey Williams. There was a gun found when you were pulled over, correct? Yes. Whose gun was it? I don't know whose gun it was. Was the gun yours? No, the gun wasn't mine. Okay. Time out. There's a gun in the car. It's you and another passenger. They ask you whose gun it is. You say it's not yours. Now, I'm not saying that you told, but if I say the gun's not mine, well, then there's only one other person in the vehicle who the gun could belong to. And if I know they're actively after that person that's in the car, one. Two, if I know, you know what, I don't have anything on my record to really, like, worry about if I did take this. And number three, like, just the sheer fact of I know that this gun is in here to protect me as well as to protect him, you might have to consider taking that gun case. You might have to. I don't know many people that are in my immediate circle that in that situation don't take that gun case. Actually, I could probably guarantee you everybody in my immediate circle, 5 people, 4 people, they take that gun case in that circumstance. I don't even think it's a thought process. I think it's actually like, all right, I got that, bro. Don't worry about it. Apparently, if they're after you, they got more important things to worry about with you. we'll take that, ride that out. We'll keep it moving. The fact that they were only talking about giving him 5 years and him for take that Alford plea is crazy because you're already in jail for 7 months. You, at that point that they updated everybody, you were 7 months in. By the time this thing is over, you've been sat in jail for probably 9 months. After that 9 months is over, even if they gave you the 5 years, let's just say hypothetically they gave you the 5 years. They gave you the 5 years. You go sit in jail. You might do 2. Time served for 9 months, and they give you 2 extra years, right? It's not it's not federal. It's state. So you go to jail, get yourself in a program, go be a trustee, right? Wash some tables, go work in the kitchen, work the trays, wipe windows down. You know what I mean? Mop the floors, whatever, right? They'll add that extra time on top, and get your ass out, man. Come back home. And for whatever everybody want to say is null and void at that point because you stood tall in a situation where, you know what I'm saying? Like in a situation where you were involved in. You weren't in, we're not talking about you being in a separate vehicle and then they pulling over both vehicles and they find a gun in one car and they're putting it on you. No, bro, you was in a car too. All these other guys, same way. Antonio Sumlin, hey, bro, like, I don't know. We don't know the ins and outs of that because it's not as publicized as the gunner part. But bro, like, if you're going to commit yourself to be a certain type of cat, you got to stand on that. You just got to. When the time comes, you got to be what you say you are when it hits the fan. You can't decide when you feel like it, what side of the fence you want to stand on because it makes sense to you. Because it ain't you that's being affected, right? If the time came for you to step up and be that and you told them no, well, then you wouldn't even be in this. So either you weren't that from the beginning or there was a reason, a monetary reason why you felt like you needed to. I don't get it. I don't understand. You know, everybody has people and friends that aren't the best of people. They're not the savoriest of people, right? And it's just how it works because everybody's from different places. Everybody's experience in life is different, right? But at the same time, if there's 2 murders that you've copped to, attempted murders that you've copped to, then what else is going on now? Right? What else is going on? What else is in your closet, so to speak, that hasn't came out? You know what I mean? And for people like that, man, you just got to be wary of that because you never know what's going to be said next or what they actually do know because people talk. Even in organizations, there's people that talk. Hopefully this organization was built strong enough where the lower tier guys don't know much of nothing except what they need to know. Because if that's the case, then okay, then maybe they don't have as much on Young Thug and maybe it's just the bickering amongst the guys at the bottom tier. But if the top tier guys are pillow talking with the lower tier guys and everybody's in the loop with what's going on, man, Young Thug is going to have to plea out quick because if not, he might not be coming home. He might not be coming home. So, I mean, prayers for everybody in that situation. You know, I mean, even though what they're saying is a part of this situation is some negative stuff, man, like I don't ever want to see people in jail. That's just my personal opinion. And the other part to that too, before I get off of this, is the misrepresentation that we have as colored people in court. I've been to 5 or 6 jury duty summons. I look around the room, there might be 4 or 5 colored people in the entire room that are going up here, that are showing up for these things. I don't necessarily, and I will 100% take the guilty on this. I 100% do not want to go sit on somebody's panel, listen to somebody's story, and have somebody's fate in my hands. I just don't. That's just not who I am. I'm just not wired like that. I don't. I'm the first one with my hand raised. Hey, when the judge goes, hey, is there anybody who has a reason why they can't be here, you know, child or, you know, work, emergency for work or whatever the case may be? Boo-hoo. That's me. yo, listen, let me holler at you, pimp. I got this going on. I got that going on. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm moving out of state tomorrow. Like, I'm finding some way to not sit on that panel. And it's not even the money, right? Because they don't pay nothing to do it. But it's not even that. It's just I can't bring myself to look across and go, you know what? If it's me, you're always gonna be not guilty. That's just who, bro. If you did something wrong and they walked you in the courtroom and they showed you on camera and you had your ID and your social security card wrapped around your neck, bro, like a necklace, I'm gonna be like, yeah, but what if that? I don't know. What if he stole some else's information and made a chain of it? I don't know. I'm gonna find some way around it because I'm a firm believer of like, hey, like if y'all have the evidence, there's no reason for us to be here. That's just how my thought process is. And knock on wood, I've been able to skate jury summons like that throughout life. But hopefully I don't run into one of these judges that are like, nah, you'll be all right. Bring your kid in here too, and he can sit in here and watch and force me to be there. But yeah, we for sure getting mistrial or hung jury because you're gonna be not guilty. And a lot of people have a different perspective about that too. But a lot of times what ends up being in that room or on that panel, so to speak, is a lot of people that don't look like us. They don't understand what we go through. They don't understand, the scenario fully. It's hard to go into a court proceeding and give them everything because they don't want everything. They just want the points of the case. Well, how far back does this backstory go, right? Like these people don't know you. They're literally meeting you in that moment, right? Where you guys have to interact. Not really interact, but they're interacting with you as far as giving you information. You have to process information from complete strangers. And mind you, this is a game that they're playing. It's chess, not checkers that they're playing. So they're omitting things on both sides. They're pushing certain narratives and trying to cut out other narratives, right? That would give you the full story. You're not actually getting the full story. So that on top of the fact that you have a lot of people that are sitting on that panel that don't look like us, don't act like us, don't listen to the music we listen to. They don't, They don't come hang out at the barbecue. They don't come shoot hoops. They don't do nothing, right? They drive to work, right? Eat whatever they eat, right? Tuna sandwich with cheese and Ritz crackers or whatever, right? Whatever they do, those are the people that are staying in those rooms. And I can admit that like I've been contributing to that, and I understand, but I also understand that if I did something, that I gotta take whatever come with it, regardless of who's sitting there. So like I said, prayers up for everybody in that situation, man. Hopefully there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Hopefully they allow Young Thug to take a plea. I don't know if there's been a lot of situations where he's been able to plea out. I think right now they're just stockpiling information and they're just trying to push him into the ground. That's what I honestly think. I think they're trying to push him towards a life sentence, but hopefully everything lines out with that, man. Damn, it sucks, man. It really does. It sucks, man. But here we go. Listen, on to number 2. Listen, if you've been watching TV, if you've been on the internet, you've been aware of this Meg Thee Stallion, Tory Lanez thing. This thing officially came to a conclusion the other day. Tory Lanez, guilty on all counts, facing 22 years in jail. Possible deportation from the United States because he's from Canada. Man, I don't want to turn this into a women versus men thing. I really want to turn this into a know who your surroundings are type of thing. So, couple key things about the story that like really like jumped out to me as I was following this thing is that Meg doesn't seem to be the most truthful person that I've ever bumped into. She just don't. I also believe that like the friend Kelsey told the truth in the courtroom. And I believe that fell on deaf ears because they wanted Tory to be guilty the whole time. I don't want to say they. Meg and then popular public opinion, right? So I believe personally that he kind of got railroaded. That's what I believe. I believe that there was a situation, maybe not in that moment, but there was an instance where all three of them had some type of relationship. I believe this. It's been said that multiple times Meg the Stallion has backdoored or who has leached onto or off of her friend to meet some of these guys that she's been meeting. And multiple times she's somewhat taken those guys from her. And so for Meg to be a music person actually in the industry, for her friend to not necessarily be in the industry, but as her friend be allowed to be in certain circles because, you know, they're friends. I just think that's kind of wild that, like, it seems as though you can't get your own man, so you just take your friends. I think that's crazy. And at some point, everything comes to a head. I also don't know exactly what happened, right? Like prior to them getting in the car together. All we know is that, hey, you know, there was some issue, right, at the Jenner's place. They got in a car, something ensued, right? And then some gunshots rang out. Couple issues with that story, right? Like, we don't know exactly what happened in that car. When I say exactly, meaning, again, as the last conversation we just had, we're in court. Court's not going to tell you every single thing. They're going to leave out parts that make their client look good or look bad, and then they're going to put in the stuff that makes their client look good. That's what they get paid to do. So what if, just what if, since it's been said that Meg is an aggressive drunk, what if this whole love triangle turned into a blow up thing? Let's just say. So Meg gets out of the car or reaches back in the car and starts beating her friend up. Let's just say that's just what happens. She starts beating her friend up, right? She's beating her friend up. The friend isn't really fighting back because the friend's kind of like, yo, you're bugging, you're drinking, whatever the case may be, right? You're being extra for nothing. At some point, the friend decides, you know what? I'm tired of this. Like, this has happened multiple times. You know, you're doing this, you're being this way, that way, whatever the case may be. And maybe because she's drinking too, Tori's in the car. Maybe they actively have something going on, right? That happens, and now she grabs the gun and shoots at Meg when she's out of the car walking away. The reason why I asked that question and the reason why I kind of pose that little bit of perspective is because from the evidence that they put forward, there was more gunpowder residue on Kelsey than there was on Tori. Which to me means that, like, Kelsey had the gun in her actual hands. Tori didn't. How do we know that Kelsey wasn't shooting at Meg at the ground on purpose and Tori reached over to knock the gun down? That may not be the most logically way to think for a lot of people, only because they've probably never been in that situation where tensions run high and things like that. As friends, maybe Meg goes a little bit later, hey, you know what? Maybe I was tripping. I was tripping. I was drinking. I shouldn't have jumped on her like that. That's still my friend. We go back however many years. I'm gonna protect my friend. Because if you're walking away from me and gunshots ring out, I don't know many people that are going to turn around and look where gunshots are coming from. So for her to say, yeah, I was walking away, I heard the gunshots and I turned around and I seen him shooting, that's crazy. That's especially if, like, this gun is right behind me. It's going to sound like the 4th of July behind me. I don't know if I'm turning around to see where gunshots are coming from, especially if I feel my feet get hit with something. It's Action Jackson time. I'm going that way, fast as possible. We'll figure out who's shooting later. So that just seems weird to me that, like, in the middle of this going on, you were able to stop and look and see who was shooting at you. That's just weird to me. You know what I mean? To me. But I could be wrong, right? Like, maybe there's people who don't think logically in certain situations, and their first thoughts like, hey, let me look and see who might be killing me back behind me. I don't know. But I do think that once the narrative got started, that it was Tori. And I do think that part of this whole thing is, like, protect women. I understand that. I 100% agree. I 1000% agree. I have zero issue with that. But I do know, just like everybody that's watching this knows, that there are some shiesty girls out here, just like there's shiesty guys out here, There's girls that'll go out here, start problems, and then when it hits the fan, they cry wolf. There's guys that are the same way. Not saying that's who Meg is. Not saying that's who she's not either, because I don't know her. But the moral of that story is, hey, bro, if you're not guilty of anything, you're guilty of being dumb as hell. You're guilty of being in a situation with those two women, if what's being said is true, where you had relationships with both of those women, you were hanging out together with them, and it hit the fan. Like, that, there's no reason why you should be in that car, in that situation, if you're Tory Lanez and you have an opportunity to not be. Be in a separate car. You know what I mean? Do it behind closed doors. It is what it is. But the fact that you got in that car, understanding the situation that you put yourself in, you're a wild boy for that. You are a wild boy for that. I got to commend you, because everybody that I don't know many people that are dumb enough to put themselves in that situation. So because you put yourself in that situation, you're guilty by association already. They're friends. You're the outsider. Again, this goes back to the conversation we had last episode with the Migo situation. Hey, these people know each other. They don't know you like that. I mean, they do, but they know you until it's time for whatever to get done gets done, and then you're expendable. Look at what just happened. You somehow or other got your way between two friends. It hit the fan. Now this friend is saying that this friend didn't do it. This friend is saying that friend didn't do it, and you're the only one left standing there by yourself, whether you did it or not. I do think that it's telling, though, that Kelsey, as the friend, went into court after she made an initial statement, got immunity from the DA, went and sat on the stand and said, my whole statement was a lie. Well, because you can't now rescind your you know what I mean, your immunity that you gave her. She has that. So now she goes in there and she creates doubt. Because if your entire statement's a lie, what else is a lie? I believe that all three of them lied in that case. I believe it. I don't believe nobody on there that got on that stand told the truth. Not one person. At least Kelsey told you she was lying. Meg went on a TV show, and when she was asked about having relations with Tory Lanez, she paused and paused and paused and paused and then said no. Well, then explain to me what the real situation was, in which case this whole thing started. Because you can't tell me that you got shot at because y'all had a discrepancy over what time y'all wanted to leave the place. I don't. There's three things that will cause turmoil between people that actually care about each other. Right? Money, relationships, and money. That's it. There's nothing else. Everything else can get talked about. Everything else can be water under the bridge. Everything else can be what it's going to be, whatever it's going to be. Those three things, right, are the three things that will cause me and you as good brothers and good people to look at each other a certain type of way behind closed doors, or outside if that's where it happens to turn to. So, man. The moral of the story, man, is like, bro, you gotta be careful. You gotta know where you're supposed to be, where you're not supposed to be. I feel like in these past situations, the Migo situation and these two situations, it's like, hey, money allowed you to be in a situation that you normally wouldn't be in. All right. Under the circumstances of you having money, you're able to be in certain rooms and be around certain people that you would never be around ever. And because of that, it emboldens you to be more of a, I don't want to say like extra, but I want to say like it emboldens you to be more just outside, like more outward about like who you are, what you are, because there's more things given to you. There's more opportunities for you to be around. There's nothing wrong with you mingling with people. There's nothing wrong with you getting cool with people. There's nothing wrong with none of that. But you have to understand, like, hey, look, man, like, there's still certain situations that you have to sit and go, you know what? Maybe this ain't the right thing. Even if I am rich as hell, I don't know how much money people got. I don't be pocket watching. But I do think, hey, man, stupidity loses every time. If you dumb and you don't sit and you don't think certain things through, you got to deal with whatever the consequences are. I don't know where that gun came from. Do I think it's Tories? Yeah, I do. Because if you have security, then the unlicensed part of the charge means it wasn't registered to nobody. So if that's the case, it wouldn't be securities, because why would security have an unlicensed firearm? So again, it's just being dumb. Hey, if there's security there, give him the gun. Why you got a gun for if security's there? That doesn't make any sense. Even if it's not your security, if you're in a car with them, the security's job is, so let's say it's Meg security, right? His job is to secure Meg, right? Well, if you're with her, I doubt she's going to be like, hey, let them do something to them because we rode together, but because you're only protecting me. No, like, hey, your job is to direct accordingly if I'm paying for security. So the unlicensed gun part, I doubt Kelsey like put an unlicensed gun. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. You're the odd guy out. So just through being dumb, right, this stuff's getting put on you. I'm not saying that he shot her. I'm not saying that, because again, it's about doubt. I think that Kelsey walking in there saying, hey, that my whole testimony was a lie is enough doubt for me to go, I don't know if he shot her. I believe that Kelsey shot her, because why else would you need immunity if you didn't do something wrong? If you were the victim, why do you need immunity as the victim? You wouldn't need immunity as the victim, because you'd have witnesses to back up your claims. If there's no witness to back up your claims, then it's my word against yours. I might need immunity. Let that sink in for a second. I do think that if Tory is guilty of anything, it's the gun. I do believe that the gun got fired. I do believe that Tory was in the area where the gun got fired. I do believe that that gun belonged to him. I do believe these things. I don't believe they shot her, though. But again, when you're in an environment that you shouldn't be in, and the narrative gets created that it's you this entire time, everybody wants it to be you. Nobody wants to believe that friends turn enemies. Nobody wants to believe these things. Well, then you're guilty by association before you walk in the courtroom. Even with doubt, you're still guilty. Every outlet that I went and I did research on said the same thing. I don't see a way that Tory Lanez gets found guilty of all charges. There's no way. When I first was listening to some of the stuff that was being said in court, I turned around to one of my guys I was talking to. I said, say, bro, there's no way in a Jamaican's tank top, bro, that he's going to get found guilty of all this stuff. There is no way. There's no way. There is no way. But it's California. California laws are a lot stricter, right, than a lot of places in the country. New York and California are the two places where, you know, if you ain't supposed to have a gun, don't. But again, that's here nor there. This is a famous person around famous people, and it's nationwide news. Somebody had to go to jail, or somebody had to be convicted at least. Somebody had to. I do think 22 years is a little rough. I do. I think 22 years is rough based on the circumstances and the evidence in the case. If you want to find him guilty, I don't know, right? You find him guilty, but what do you do with the sentencing? Because if these things have mandatory minimums, I just go with mandatory minimums, right? But if you tell me that 22 years is what you have, is the mandatory minimum for all three cases, boy, with him being from Canada, I don't see how he rebounds from that, because he does his 22 years and he's deported. Even if he doesn't do 22 years, let's say he does 10 to 12. Say he does 10 to 12, even with programs, good time, again, stuff like that. You do 10 to 12. I mean, I don't think his music is that hot. That's just my personal opinion. I don't think your music is that good where people can go without it for, that long and you still have that type of buzz. There's only certain type of people that can make that transition and come back from that. That's not everybody. That is not everybody. And if I got to go sit in jail for 10 to 12 years over something that didn't happen, but I just became the scapegoat, boy, I would be irate. I would be irate. I think a lot of people that are watching this would say, hey, like, I don't mind going to jail for something that I did. What if I go to jail for something I didn't do? Right? And again, that's a special circumstance, right? Because again, with the other situation, hey, if there's a gun and I know my guys got priors and it's a whole situation, then cool, I take that. But if I just happen to be somewhere and somebody points me out and goes, it was you, and then I go to jail and sit in jail for that's a hard pill to swallow. Again, I do think he was guilty of something. I just don't know if he was guilty of shooting that girl. I do believe the gun was his. I do believe, the unlicensed charge. I do believe he should take that. I do. I honestly believe that he should have walked in the courtroom and said, hey, like, that gun was mine. Like, and at least give them something and go, all right, cool, look here. But I didn't shoot that girl. Now y'all got to prove that. You know what I'm saying? Like I do 100% understand that there is a whole different set of laws in California, and things like that. So, I mean, again, prayers to that, man. Prayers to that situation. Like, he had a salmon suit on. He had a pink suit on in court, yo. Like, I'm old enough to understand and appreciate like some pink from time to time, right? But a pink suit, like, I'm not wearing a salmon suit to court. Like Michael Jackson went to court back in the day. It got on top of the limo at the end of court and was dancing. I don't know if he was planning on like having a concert outside of the courthouse after that or what, but pink suit to court probably ain't the thing to do. Number one. Number two, like, that's probably gonna be the last suit he wears until he comes back to court for his sentencing hearing. So whatever he gets, man, I mean, I'm sure there's gonna be, more legal stuff back and forth. I'm sure there's gonna be appeals. I'm sure there's gonna be, stuff like that. Hopefully, the truth comes out later on, because it usually always does later, But man, it's a bad situation for entertainers right now. They just can't seem to stay out the way, But when you got money, man, and your inhibitions are kind of thrown to the wind because you feel like you're untouchable, you get touched. It's a common thing every time. Every time it's a common thing, So, man, man, it's been interesting. It's been interesting following these stories, man. It's hopefully, like I said before, man, hopefully it's just a learning experience, yo. Like, nobody's immune to being dumb. Like, nobody's immune to being dumb. Be who you are all the time and you ain't got to worry about it. Be who you are all the time and you will not ever have to worry about it. I don't know, man. But look, man, we're about to get out of here. Last part of the segments. You know what it is, right? The Humble Talk segment. This week, man, there's a thing that I used to be told all the time. And it was be who you are even when nobody's watching. Be who you are whenever nobody's watching. That thing came from just years and years and years of being around, different people, right? I would have a lot of the people that raised me, older people, of course, they raised me and they would always instill that in me just throughout conversations as we would talk. I'd go through things back and forth, whatever, younger, kind of going through certain emotions and everything like that, trying to figure out as my journey was progressing who I was, in those hard moments. And they would always tell me, hey, man, just be who you are when nobody's watching. And for me, it's always been kind of like an easier thing for me to handle, I feel like, because for me, as I said before, where I come from, like, you kind of got to be who you are anyway, no matter what. But when your environment changes, you look around, and when you've been a person so long, you learn to like kind of get a feel and a vibe when people are being dishonest, man, when people aren't being who they're supposed to be to you. A lot of times the conversations that are being had around certain people aren't being had around other people. And it's not fear, it's respect. It's respect. When people respect you a certain way because you are who you are all the time, even when people aren't around, they garner that. People appreciate that. They may not tell you, but they may show that to you in their actions. And sometimes in conversation, they'll let you know. You know, sometimes what it comes down to is like, hey, if I'm myself all the time, I don't have to think about it when the time comes. A lot of things are automatic. A lot of times when you're not being yourself, you can see when people are trying. You can be around people and you'll watch them and you'll kind of see the back and forth inside them where they're trying to figure out like, okay, in this moment, who am I supposed to be? Am I supposed to be Mr. Hold It Down and do the right thing? Or am I supposed to be Mr. Shiesty and I'm over here and I'm trying to like do what they think I should say? You know what I'm saying? Like, and a lot of times when you learn to see that, man, it's a good thing. It's a very positive thing to be yourself enough where you're able to attract people or reject people just based on the energy that you give off because they understand who you are and project that all the time. Don't ever discount yourself for other people. Don't let those people make you feel as though, hey man, you have to be this way because you're around. Here's the thing. The people that tell you that, they're not that person all the time. When they're at home or they're whatever they are, right? That at some point that gets turned off. You know what I mean? You understand what I'm saying? Everybody is this when they're outside, but then when they're at home, they're different. That's how I am. I'm guilty. I'm guilty as sin, right? When I'm at home, I'm kicking back, I'm relaxing, right? I don't have a worry in the world. I'm cooling. I'm making jokes, you know what I mean? I'm dancing with the kiddos. I'm doing everything that I didn't get to do growing up, right? I'm having fun. I'm in my fun mode. When I leave here, the moment I walk out the door, I'm locked, loaded, ready to go for whatever comes my way. I ain't worried about it. I ain't calling the police on nothing. I'm not nothing. I'm just not actively looking for problems. The people that I surround myself with are people that if they're not thinking like me, they're people that remind me of me when I needed help growing up. And I didn't have anybody to pull me up or tell me that I was making a mistake. You know what I'm saying? So when I have people like that, or I have people that are close to me, I'm like, hey, you know what? Like, hey, bro, like, come here, stay over here, stay close to me, bro. Because if I am who I am all the time, they know that when I say that, I'm only being humble when I say it. I don't want clout. I'm not out here trying to get likes on the internet. You know what I'm saying? For stuff like that. I don't care what you think about me at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? So for me, it's like when I am who I am all the time, I ain't got to think about it. I'm my humble self 99.9% of the time. 99.9% of the time. That's who I am. For people who know me, they'll tell you, hey man, cool guy all the time. Ain't never nothing. Unless you put him in a situation where he has to respond, he ain't responding. Because I have time of practicing and understanding people and just being around and learning myself, more importantly, learning who I am, learning the things that trigger me. I learn the things that trigger me. So now I know before I get an attitude or before this goes left, it's time for me. Let me just leave. I'll just exit stage left. It's okay. But I always am who I am when nobody's around. It don't make you any less of a man or any less of a woman to be who you are all the time when nobody's around. Just be that. And if you're that, the people that are supposed to be there will be there. The people who aren't supposed to be there won't be there. In which case, you'll just have to take a little bit of heartache to understand that those people weren't supposed to be around long term. Take what you were supposed to learn from those people, apply it to your life, and keep moving. And keep moving. So that's it for me, man. I'm gonna let y'all go. Hey, it's Christmas Day. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. You know, hope everybody gets everything that they wanted. Like I said, stay safe. You know, the cops is out. You know they out. If you ain't got to be out moving around, don't be out moving around. Don't be shaking and moving and popping a certain way. But, hey, blessings. Like, comment, subscribe below. Again, let's talk. let's talk. I'll be back next week for another episode, man. Peace. Love y'all. Thank you. Bye.